Okay, I think yeah, we are already recording our meeting. Okay, and now in the today's class, what we are going to do is we are going to start with a recursive function. Okay, so some of you might have already solved that problem in your tutorial. So may I know what was the problem that you solved using recursion in the tutorial? Was it a factorial problem?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, that and
Okay, fine.
Fibonacci series.
Yeah, these are two very typical examples. Anyway, we will also be having a look at factorial problem first of all. Okay, I'll be explaining you in detail that what exactly we are doing. We'll even draw a flow chart of the same, and you will get to know that how exactly that recursion works. And then we'll use that understanding to carry out a job that we already have done using the function. So we'll just try to tweak earlier program of numerical integration a bit by incorporating a recursion into it. Okay, so we'll try to see to it, starting with the problem of recursion, this thing, factorial. Okay, this is a very typical problem that you might have solved using tutorial in your tutorial sessions as well. And even if you see over there on online resources, they will also be explaining either of this problem of finding the factorial or the problem of Fibonacci series. Okay, so however, let me know. Let me tell you that what happens is that whatever that you are doing using recursion, you can always replace the same by using loops, and it's not necessary always to go for recursion. Okay, but that adds some elegance, and it is actually the elegance for which we do it. Okay, in most of the cases. Okay, so let me share my screen, and we'll start with our class. I hope you are able to see the screen now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, fine. Good. Okay. So now what we are going to do in the today's class is having a look at the problem that I was just now talking about, is finding a factorial of a number. Okay. So let's say that the number that you are talking is n, and you are interested in finding out what is the factorial of this number. Let n be given some value which as of now, let's say that is equal to 4. Okay, so when you want to find out factorial of 4, then what you do is you multiply by 3 to this 4, then by 2 to this entire multiplication, then you multiply by 1 to whatever that you have done before. Okay, so you keep multiplying by a number which is 1 less than the earlier number, and you keep doing this activity till the time you end up over here at 1. Okay, the moment you come at 1, then you stop over there, right? So this is a pretty simple straightforward logic. So let's try to draw a flow chart of it, and I want you people to help me out in drawing this flow chart. Okay, so if I have to draw the flow chart for a generalized number, let's say n. Okay, so I'll be first of all obviously starting, and once I start, the next process will be get n. Okay, let user input, or you will be defining n. Okay, then what I am going to do is factorial is equal to n multiplied by n minus 1. Okay, you keep doing this. Okay, or you better write down this as I'll write it down in this way. I'll first of all define what factorial is as well. So let factorial be initially given value 4. Okay, and then I'll write it down in this way, that fact, which is factorial of that number, is equal to that fact itself multiplied by fact minus 1. Okay, keep carrying out this activity till the time you end up over here that fact is greater than equal to 1. Okay, you will be carrying out this activity, rather you will be carrying out only till the time it is greater than 1. So even when it is 1, at that time you will be carrying out this. Okay, so you will even be multiplying by 1. Okay, so you will be carrying out this activity till the time this condition is satisfied. If this condition is not satisfied, then you will be coming out of this loop and the final answer is this fact. Right? So in the beginning, okay, so let's say that step 1 or iteration 1, you can call it as iteration 1. Then iteration 1 tells you that fact is equal to 4. Okay? Then when you are carrying out this activity for the second iteration, actually this itself I am considering as the first iteration. Then when you go inside, then what you do is you multiply by 3, and now this is what is fact, right, which is 12. Then you go inside this loop once again, okay, because right now yeah, you need to, it's not going to be that way.
Ma'am, I think we should
It
use
won't be,
another variable.
yeah, you will have to use another variable over here which will be equal to n, and that n should be considered as n minus 1. I mean that needs to be updated, that n minus is equal to 1. I'll write over here. So in each step you will be reducing value of n, and you will have to carry out this operation till the time n is greater than 1. And at this level fact is having value equal to 2 and n is having value equal to when you are over here it is 3, right? So
Ma'am, this fact should be multiplied with n minus 1.
yes. So because this is what is n, right, in the earlier case, and now you will have to predefine n as well over here. Fact as well as n, both of them will be 4 here in the beginning. Now when you come over here, that is this step, okay, so I'll call it as iteration 0 and let this be iteration 1. When you are in iteration 1, then fact which was equal to 4, that is getting multiplied by n minus 1, which is 3, right? So new answer of fact is equal to 12. Okay, and n value thereafter, once you carry out this step, thereafter value of n is also reduced by 1, which is equal to 3, and then you check if n is greater than equal to 1. Yes, it is greater than or equal to 1. At that time you are over here and you are allowed to pass inside the loop, and then you are ending up into iteration number 2. So you are carrying out the same activity second time. Now fact is having value equal to 12. To that you are multiplying by n minus 1, which is 2. Okay, and hence fact comes out to be equal to 24 here, and n of value of that n is reduced from earlier value which was 3 by 1. So the new value that n will get over here is equal to 2. This is what is happening in iteration number 2. Okay, and then you will check whether this is greater than 1. Yes, greater than or equal to 1. Yes, it is greater than or equal to 1. Then you will go inside. Okay, when you will go inside, then at that time what you will be doing is, this will be iteration number 3.
It should be n greater than equal to 2.
You can put it like this. Okay,
Yeah.
then that would work. Okay, so I am intentionally putting it like this because I'll be putting one condition inside, because this is not a loop that I'll be working with. I am going to write one recursive function, But essentially recursive function and loop, they don't have different flowcharts. Okay, only the way you write it down in program, that is different. You can indeed carry out the same operation by writing a for loop or while loop or do while loop. Okay, any of the loops you can use to carry out what I am going to do with recursive function. Okay, so when I'll be using recursive function, at that time I'll be using this equal to condition, and at that equal to condition I'll push that control out. But anyways, you can always do the same stuff by a different method. Okay, so you can say that you will be carrying out this activity till the time it is greater than 1. Okay, and when it is equal to 1, then you will be carrying out a different activity. Okay, so in that recursive function, so when I'll be writing a recursive function, then at that time when n comes out to be equal to 1, then a different activity will be carried out. Otherwise, till the time n is greater than 1, then I'll be carrying out this activity. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, fine. So when I am going inside the loop third time, at that time n is having value equal to 2 and I'm allowed to pass in. Now value of fact is equal to 24. At this step we have changed the value of fact, which is equal to 24 now. Okay, so when you say that it is 24, then that 24 is multiplied by n minus 1. Now n is having value equal to 2, you are multiplying by n minus 1. Okay, so which is essentially equal to 1. So value of fact is now equal to 24 once again. Now that won't change because you are multiplying by 1, and now you are letting this n to get this value, new value, which is equal to 1. Now if we are writing this condition, that is n is greater than 1, then uh, control will not go inside the loop and you are thrown out of the loop, and you write down this answer, which is equal to fact. Okay, so you flash this answer saying that this is what is the factorial of number 4. Okay, but we will be writing one condition inside that recursive function for n equal to 1, and otherwise, so we'll essentially have if and else condition. So whenever you have a recursive function, then you use if else condition. Unless and until you use if else condition, you should not ever write down any recursive function. Otherwise you won't come out of that recursive function at all. Okay, so in order not to have that, you have to work in this way. Okay, fine. So we have flowchart with us, so let's try to write down that code. Okay, so this time I'll be using online compiler. Yeah, so I have this hash include namespace and all stuff already there. Okay, so let me change this. Let me define one integer for which I am going to find out what is the factorial. Let me have this integer initialized to 4, and I'll also need another integer. Here you can define integer or even long integer, because if you are finding out factorial of a big number, even not even a big number, even I suppose even if you go more than 15 or so, then you may end up exploiting entire limit of this integer 15, 20. Okay, so but still we will be checking it out only for 4 factorial, 5 factorial or so, and hence we'll work with integer number itself. And the number where I'm going to store the factorial, I'm calling it as f. Okay, so this is what is going to be the factorial, or we can even name it as fact, but okay, fine. Fact would do, and fact is that where I am going to store the factorial. Okay, so it is exactly analogous to what flowchart that we have drawn. Okay, so thereafter, can you tell me what we had done while we were drawing that flowchart? We initialize this fact as well, right? that was initialized to n in the beginning, right? Then we started with the loop, is it not? Yes. So when we start with the loop on the flow chart, then we write down call of a function which is going to be a recursive. Okay, I have to write down this function yet. Okay, so I am going to write down a function called as a factorial, okay, which will take in n, which is an integer. Okay, it will process on that n and it will give me out factorial of that n. Okay, so this is how that function is going to be like. Let me define that function over here. So what will be input and output to that function? Can anybody tell me? What will be the output data type of this factorial function?
Integer.
Integer, right? And then this function, and then I'll also have to specify what is going to be the input data type.
Integer n.
Yes, so I'm writing down this n over here. Once again, as we already have seen in the last class, this n can be different than n that we are writing down at line number 17. Okay, you can write down m also. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, it can be different, very different than what you have written at line number 20 over here. Okay, so now we are inside that recursive function. Okay, and as I just now have told you that whenever you are writing down the recursive function, you need to write down if else condition. For example, when we are writing down loop, then you need a condition which is going to tell you when to exit, right? So for either you write down for loop, while loop, or do while loop. Having that condition which is going to tell you when to exit, that is very much essential. Unless you write down that condition, you should not, I mean, rather, syntax doesn't allow you to complete that particular looping. But in this case, okay, since you are writing down your own function, so you have to ensure that you plug in that condition. Okay, so in order to plug that condition, we use obviously if, okay, if statement. Okay, so I'll be using if, then I'll be putting some condition over there. So if this is happening, then you do this, else you do this. Okay, so we were saying that if n is greater than 1, okay, then if n is greater than 1, then we were carrying out some operation. Okay, otherwise when n is equal to 1,
has only curly brackets.
yeah, else is going to tell you that what is the operation that you have to do. There shouldn't be any condition written over there. Okay, so in front of if, okay, whenever we have these brackets, okay, so what we write over here is the condition, and curly brackets tell us the job that that particular set of statements are supposed to do. So whatever statements that we'll be writing, which are supposed to be executed by that if, should be included in that curly brackets. And
In the
as
else
it was
statement,
pointed
we
out,
need to have a semicolon for the statement declaration.
before if, right?
No, ma'am. In else bracket n equals to 1, after
Yeah,
that semicolon.
yeah. Yeah, but rather we will not be writing down that if n equal to 1. I was just telling you that whenever n will be 1, we will be coming up over here and we are going to write down a different statement over here. And that statement will obviously have semicolon at the end. Okay, so
Okay.
we'll be putting it. We are yet to write down that, but I was just going to tell you that we are here at this else when n is equal to 1. Okay, so okay, so now let's first of all write down what happens when n is equal to 1. Okay, so we just have to return. So in each of these cases, okay, so either inside if or inside else, you will have to return something. Why you have to return something? Because you are taking it in a basket which is integer basket, so you have to return. Okay, so what basket that you are using for taking the output of that function and what kind of output that you are giving from the function, they all always should be identical. So you should always have return inside either else or inside if. Okay, because you are returning something, right? This function is returning something. So either you are over here inside this else, or when you are over here inside this if, you have to return something. Okay, so when I am inside else, I am returning 1 and I'm not doing anything else thereafter. Okay, and control will come out of this function automatically. This is what I have done. And looping operation is something that I'll be writing down over here, and I'll be saying that return, I've made a mistake of typing. So return, I'll write it down in this way, return m multiplied by factorial of m minus 1. Factorial, I should be writing down in this way. Yes. I suppose that this should work. Okay, so let's, obviously I'll be
Ma'am,
putting
some
semicolon here. Yeah. Yes, so we are done with writing this. Now we will have to
Ma'am,
put some C out. Huh?
ma'am, inside
go.
the if condition, can we write n?
It should be m greater than 1.
Yeah, it's m. Yeah. And now it is not n anymore. When you are in that factorial function, it will be termed as m. M is terming that particular number as, factorial function is terming that number as m. Okay, it doesn't have n anymore. It doesn't have access to n. So it should be m. Yes, you are right. Okay, so this I suppose is done. Then now we are going to put that output, that whatever that we are willing to write down, that factorial of I'll have capital F here intentionally, factorial of number n factorial of number 4. It will read like this, is this. I'll be writing it as fact. And endl. Okay, so let me add one more line over here. Let me print on the screen every time what is m. Okay, that will help us to know that what we are going to do is right. Okay, so I suppose it is done and I'll run the code. Yeah.
Ma'am, in line 24, why you have written fact equal to n?
Line number 24. I have initialized it. It's not required. It's not required actually. So it's not required here. The way we are writing, it's not required. Obviously, it's declaration is necessary, but initialization is not necessary. Is there any other query? Should I run the program?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Can you see? it has printed 4 first, then 3, then 2, then 1, and finally it has written factorial of number 4 is 24. Is it right? Yeah. 4 into 3 into 2, which is equal to 24, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Has anybody understood what I've done?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Has anybody not understood what I have done over here? Great. Okay, fine. So everybody is completely convinced with whatever that is done. Okay. So I need not explain it any further, right? Or any other explanation is
Excuse me,
required?
मैम
Please go ahead.
मैम लाइन नंबर एक बार 13 एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए.
Line number 13. Okay, so line number 13 is actually where we are declaring the function. Okay, that is function का declaration है. उसमें क्या है? ये function का name है. What is the name of our function? Function name is factorial. Okay. What is the output that that function is giving? The data type of that output, that is integer. It is a return data type. Okay. So what function is returning data type of that is written over here. Okay. So return data type is integer. So function will always be returning an integer. Okay. And name of the function is factorial, and that function is taking arguments, which are inputs. And what are inputs over here? So these are, so it's explaining me further. So what I'm doing over here. So this is what I was just highlighting right now. So this is what is the input that I am giving to that function, and that function is able to take integer input. Okay, it will operate onto that input and it will give you a return value, which is again going to be an integer. That's why this line number 13 is written in this way. Okay, so it is just a function, a declaration. Then we come inside that function, we write down what is going to happen inside that function over here from line number 14 to line number 20. Yeah. Any other query?
Yes, ma'am.
Please. Is there any other query? No queries? Okay, great. Okay, fine. So now I want you people to work on a problem that we were working earlier. Okay, so let me open, let me come out of this first of all. I'm stopping the broadcast. Please. Ujjwal, are you there? I'm not able to hear you properly. Is that you, Ujjwal? Please.
Ma'am, this function is giving me an error. Recursive function.
What is the error?
Ma'am, it's in the console. It gives me a Windows error, but it cannot run it. But during the compilation, it compiles.
It compiles, that I got, but what is the error? So it is not giving you anticipated output. Is that what you are trying
No,
to
ma'am. It prompts up a window showing txt is not. It has stopped working.
So have you written exactly identical to what I have written?
Ma'am, can I
Can you
share
share?
my screen?
Yeah, sure. Now, anyways, I'm not sharing. So just give it a try whether you are able to share, because yesterday Ojas was having problem. There is, meanwhile, Ujjwal is sharing. There is one question which is asked. Variable cannot begin with uppercase letters, right? So we must write N instead of capital N. No, variables can begin with uppercase letters. Variables can begin with any letter which can be uppercase or lowercase, but it has to be any English letter starting from A to Z. Okay, it cannot begin with underscore and it cannot also begin with number, I suppose, but it has to have a letter. It can be capital, indeed, it can be capital, or it can be small as well. Okay. So that's what it is. Okay. So what Ujjwal has written is this integer factorial integer m. Okay. And then you have written Ujjwal, where is if condition?
Put it inside of the main function.
Actually, Ujjwal, what is going to happen? You have written that if condition inside M, but once you go at line number 18, then factorial function will be called, right?
Yes,
Then you will always be inside factorial function. You won't
yes,
come out of that factorial function and you won't go inside the main, right? So you should have that condition written inside factorial function. Clear?
did otherwise.
If you use unsigned, then if you try subtracting by 1, then it may end up with error, and I suppose, is that the error that you are getting?
Yes.
Okay, but in general,
Ma'am,
this is okay. Uh-huh.
ma'am, line number
That has
11 is
stopped
very
working.
weird.
Show me line number 11.
I tried using this both ways. This error still.
Both, I'm actually not able to hear you properly. You are saying, what are you saying?
And after it was showing the error, and even after putting the line number 11 into the program, it was still showing the error. It is not required.
Basically, you don't have to declare function syntax there, okay? Because you already have written that function before main function, so that is not required. But I don't think it is problem there. Okay, so I suppose the problem that you are getting is because you have not included any condition to come out of that factorial over there. And what must be happening is it must be, but I don't know what, but it has to do something with that how many number of times it is getting called, and then you keep subtracting 1, 1, 1. Okay?
It will
Ma'am,
run infinite times. It won't come out of the execution.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So always that's what I initially started with. So whenever you start, whenever you are thinking of writing any such function which is going to be called recursively, then you should always have that condition which is going to help you out come out of it. Okay, otherwise you don't write it down. Okay, it's like writing a loop which is having always go in pass. Okay, so you have to come out of it, right, at some or other point of time. So then there is one more query which is being asked. Can there be more than one? Can be written more than two statements in a function? So I'll read it. I'll read this question like this. Can there be more than one return statements inside one function? First return, whenever this control is going to encounter first return, from there it is going to come out. Okay, so it won't go to second return. You can always write down return, but it won't go over there. First return itself is going to throw the control out of the function where you have written it. Okay, but right now when you write down if and else condition, at that time, although you have two return statements written at two different lines, but both of them won't be executed simultaneously, right? Because you have that if else condition. So when if is there, then only one return will be considered. Otherwise, control is going to go to the second return. So that's why we write down two return. But anyways, there is no any meaning of writing down two return statements which don't have any condition over there. Okay, so that way it is meaningless. Okay, the second return, because whenever control is going to see a return which is occurring at the very first instance, then from there itself control is going to come out of that function. Okay, so there is no any meaning to write down another return. Is that fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine, good, great. Okay, so let me open our earlier program and let's try to see that how we can incorporate whatever that we have just now done in our earlier program. Just me, give me some time to find it out where the earlier program is. Okay, I'm yet to share my screen, right? I haven't shared, I suppose. Are you able to see my screen?
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine, wait. I guess screen is visible now. This is the same program that we were working with yesterday, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Okay. So now what we'll do is, okay, so we'll change this one. Okay, where we are calling, where we are finding out this function value of that function at certain x location. Okay, I want this thing to be changed. Okay, so now what I'll be doing is I'll be writing down a recursive function for this. Now I want you to help me out to finding out a function value using a recursive function. Okay, it is a polynomial function and I am going to evaluate that function value using recursive function. Can you, will you be able to help me out in doing it? Is the problem clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So can anybody help me out in doing it? I want you people to work on the flowchart first and let me know what flowchart you are drawing. Okay, you can draw, you can just give it a try at your end, draw the flowchart and take a snap and show it on the screen. I want all of you to give it a try. I also don't have answer as of now with me. Hold on for a minute. So any update or do you need more time? Students, can you hear me? Okay, fine. So what we can do is you can work onto it and we can meet in the next class, and that time we'll be discussing it further. Okay. So meanwhile, I'll also give it a try because I don't know. I also haven't given it a try. Is the problem clear with everyone else?
Repeat again.
Can I share the screen?
Are you done with your problem? I mean, have you solved the problem?
Ma'am, I have written in paper the program
Okay, fine,
inside the
great.
float function.
Good, good. So, Shrey, you will be telling it in the next class. Okay, so next class is going to be all yours. Okay, initially we'll be beginning with Shrey, where he is going to show us what is the flowchart that he has written in order to carry out an activity that I was just now telling you, and I'll repeat that activity once again for all of you. So right now in this code, whatever that right now is being flashed over here in front of you, okay, in that
You are muted.
oh sorry, that was unintentional one. Okay, so the job of this function f is to evaluate function at a given x location, right? So you are providing it x value and you are also providing it m, which has got multipliers, okay, of each of that power of x, okay. And in this the way we have written the function over here, okay, we are writing this line number 5, which is evaluating what is the function value at that x location. Okay, now I want you to convert this particular function, okay, to a recursive function. It will be called recursively. Okay, the way it is right now being called, that needs to be changed to a recursive function call. Okay, is the problem clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so indeed there are more than one people who have written, one person who have written that the flowchart, and I suppose that what you have done was fine. So I'll give you good amount of time. This is Wednesday today, and we'll be meeting on Friday. Okay, so meanwhile you can give it a try at your end and just try to see the flowchart that you have right now written. It works fine as per your anticipation. Okay, you can code it and give it a try and see whether it works properly. And in the next class, Shrey, you will be beginning with this particular problem where you are going to tell us that how you have written this particular uh, function f in recursive fashion. Then we'll move on to Ojas, who is going to tell us about two control statements. Ojas, can you tell me what were those control statements that I had asked you to explain?
Go to and continue.
Go to and continue, yeah. And then is the switch statement. Okay, so who were identified to talk about those switch statements? I guess Ujjwal and Nikita, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, great. Okay, fine. So in the next class, we are beginning with Shrey, then Ojas, then Ujjwal and Nikita. Okay, so 4 of you are going to talk in the next class. Okay, agenda is clear to you, right? Okay, fine. Meanwhile, others, please give it a try. Okay, so we are going to update our program even further. Okay, this program which we have been updating so many times. Okay, we have tried different things on the same program, and now this recursive function, that itself we are going to try it on this program itself. Okay, so I want you to change the way we are calling this function f over here, and that let that function f be recursive function now. Okay, give it a try and let's try to see.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I have written the code and I will actually put it into flowchart, and means
Hmm.
it is working like say so.
Hmm.
For a value means for an array.
Parth, I did not get the later half of what you were discussing. You have written a flowchart, you have also written a code, and
No, ma'am.
I
No,
guess
ma'am.
you
I
have.
have written the code, and sorry, ma'am. Means I means actually I have to write first flowchart and then code. So actually I
That's
directly
okay.
wrote the
That's
code.
okay. If you are confident enough, then you can indeed go ahead with the code. Okay, but generally it's a good practice. But I mean, there are so many such practices that we generally don't follow, although they are supposed to be the ideal ones. But that's okay, fine. So go ahead. So you have written a code directly. Then what is the problem with it?
Ma'am, like it is working for some value means I try to enter in that. So no, ma'am. Actually, I want to ask one more thing. Like, in our tutorial, we have to use function in a flowchart. So, ma'am, how we can write that means first the function body and then again start statement when we are entering in the main function.
Yeah, so you can actually draw two flowcharts, one flowchart for a function and one flowchart for the main function. Okay, that way you can do, or you can include it in the same flowchart as well, because function is nothing but, I mean, just now you might have seen that I have drawn a flowchart which can be used for writing a loop, or which can be used to write down a recursive function as well. Okay, so flowchart ideally is giving you only the way the process is occurring. Okay, you can carry out same set of processes either by writing a function or by writing a single big code. That is also okay. So ideally you need not draw a different flowchart, but it is a practice of drawing a different flowchart for each different function. That way also is okay. And then there you can say that function call this, and then in that function flowchart you can explain what are the steps which are being taken. Okay, so in the main flowchart you will only get to see that at that particular statement or at that particular process you are just executing that function, and then you will be referring to flowchart of that function to know more about what is happening inside that function. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So in the most ideal
Excuse
case,
me, ma'am.
so as yeah, please.
Ma'am, how
Yes.
to represent break in flowchart?
So when you
How to
have
represent
break, you just have to come out of that. Okay, so you loop or whatever it is, you just have to come out of that and go to end, I mean towards that. So after that, wherever that loop is completing, at that level you just have to meet over there. So that is what is the break path.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying is that this flow charts, whatever that we draw, they are just to outline the way processes are being carried out. Okay. So they are not specific to any language. They are not specific to control statements that you use. Either you are using for loop, while loop, or do while loop, whatever that you use. They are not specific to that. They are only telling you how the process is occurring. Okay. So whatever flow chart that I had drawn, that can a same set of process flow can be obtained either by including a loop or by writing a recursive function. Okay, it's up to the user how the user is supposed to work with. Okay, accordingly he or she can choose, okay, whether to go for a function or a loop. Okay, so we'll be stopping over here for today, and we are going to meet in the next class, and we'll be having more discussion about all these topics that I was just now telling you. And I'm stopping recording our session as well. Is there any other query?
Ma'am,
Please.
ma'am, the flowcharts have to strictly be non-syntactic